Morning guys, it's the Boondoggle Man on a rainy Sunday morning. Here to show you the last video of what's in my tin. I want to get started today showing you a couple of easy projects and then move on to some of my cooler ones. This is a fishy zipper pull. I've got three to show you today. This one was created using the square stitch. I started down here and created a square long enough that could be bent around and then do a square stitch over the square stitch I started with before I did enough to finish the tail. Now if you've never done one of these, there's a nice trick you can use. If you look at the way the tail is done, both sections of the tail are the same length. But when you're actually putting this fishy together, you don't have to do this overlay down here. It's real hard to do this when you're trying to get it tight because it tends to pop off. So when I actually did the overlay, I did it way up here. Wrapped my strands around, did one more square stitch, pulled it really tight, and then I was able to push it down to where I wanted it to go when it was finished. To complete it, I just took a lanyard hook and connected it in. That's the first zipper pull. Here's another fishy. The shape is basically the same, except for the body, I chose to do some circle stitch while leaving the tail using square. Here's an example of one where I had a problem. I was actually using this as a zipper pull, and I pulled it a little too hard one day and broke it. So I ended up having to put that lanyard hook in a different place. There goes my sump pump with all the rain. Now here's a different fishy. Take a look at this. Any ideas what that stitch is? I started down here with some square. And if you take a look at the square, notice the red? The red spans over. You can see a little bit of red down there. Here's possibly the giveaway. See the red up here? Now, do you see red anywhere else? Remember the stitch that hides one of its strands? The cobra stitch. But look at this stitch. Does that look like the cobra? No. This is another stitch called twisted cobra, where instead of continually using the same strand, you swap strands. First I used the yellow, then I used the black. Then I went back to the yellow, and I went back to the black. And that created this twisted pattern. Kinda neat, huh? Alright. Hey, do you remember this stitch? The diamond braid. This time I decided to put it together into a project. Normally the diamond braid or the spiral braid are used to create long lanyards that would go around your neck and maybe hold something like a whistle or a key. Well, I decided to take the idea and shrink it down. Here's that finish that most lanyards would have. This is done in square stitch so that it can be adjustable back and forth. But here I've added a lanyard hook. This is now a keychain, a lanyard keychain. To be complete, I also created one using the spiral or twist braid. Another miniaturized lanyard, a lanyard keychain. Cool, huh? Now here are some tough ones. This is called cross or fluted columns. It's not a combo project, but I kept it here because the way you do it is kind of a combo in itself. If we take a look down here where we started, this stitch starts off as a super brick green, black, yellow with the black on the side. After I've done one stitch of super brick, I add a strand on this side to make a square. I also add a strand on that side to make another square. This gives it that cross-looking design. So really, it is a combo stitch because you're doing a super brick, a square, and a square. Now it looks like one stitch, but in reality you're actually doing 3 stitches at a time. Do a super brick, then do a square, then do the other square, and continue until you're done. Now this entire stitch was done using the square stitch. We call it fluted columns. But what would happen if you did it using circle stitch? Now here's a real combo. Another toughie from my tin. Down here you'll notice that cross or fluted columns. But in this section, I started to do the circle stitch. Now if you remember earlier I said to do the fluted columns, it was a super brick and 2 squares. Down here, we're actually doing a corkscrew and 2 circles. And I don't know if you can see it. See this section here where it's a little longer? You gotta be careful because if you're not, you may miss a stitch. In this case, I forgot to do one of the circle stitches. So I had the corkscrew and I had the other circle stitch back here. But since I missed the stitch, you can see that little error. Here we go with the fluted columns again. And then the twist, which now goes in the opposite direction. Because look, 1, 2, 3 square stitches. If it's an odd number, it's going to result in the twist going the opposite way. And I finished it off with more of that cross or fluted column stitch. A very neat stitch.